Okay, you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jennifer Blackard,
And I'm Leonka Reina.
and this is the Haute Hustle Mystic Morning Show. Today, we are talking with Phyllis Douglass, and from what I've seen, she is going to blow your mind in the angelic realms. I'm very
Yeah.
excited for this conversation. I wanted to start a little bit today. I have a little bit of morning brew with woo. I don't know how
Woo!
wooey it is, but last night we had our inner circle. It's called Mystique Societe. And one of the things that came up was that people don't necessarily really work with themselves to create great habits. And I was listening to Growth Day this morning, as I always do, which is a part of my new morning routine.
And
And
is also part of the Mystique Society.
and it's a part of the Mystique Society. We've worked out this collab so that it works really well with Mystique. Well, he was talking about tolerance. And at first I was like, okay, yes, what are we tolerating? But he started with, what are you tolerating about yourself? And he started with your habits, your fitness, your food. And I was like, okay, I think I'm pretty high performance here. But when he talked about it, I thought, you know what? This is something that I just want out there for people to kind of put a little light on. So, where are you tolerating your maybe lack of great food habits, lack of great
Mhm.
exercise habits, lack of really taking care of yourself, lack of hydration, whatever your thing is, where are you tolerating yourself? And it's your choice to change. So it's just my little bit of reminder with Morning Brew with Woo.
Woo!
Woo.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, well, today I'm remote, everyone, because as life would have it, there's always sometimes things that happen. And my son called me yesterday. Well, the nurse did, and they were like, he has a fever. And I made him to go to school anyway. I didn't know that he had a fever. He just said his throat kind of hurt. Well, lo and behold, he came home and his heart rate was a little bit fast, and he still wasn't kind of bringing that fever down. And so I said, what do you want to do, a COVID test? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, Mom, I have COVID. And I'm like, what? So I am isolating as well since I was being mama and hanging out with them. But we are, so we'll just, the show will go on. But today I wanted to share a little bit of mystic space weather news. Today we have 10 sunspots in decay. The solar disk is peppered with sunspots, 10 groups in total, and all are in decay, which is an interesting way of describing how they're actually kind of shrinking. This means that the chance of solar flares is low. So this will kind of give us a little bit of break from all those highs and lows that we've been feeling. And this should remain the same for the rest of the week. So enough with the crazy. I know that there's been a lot of swirling energies. So just know that it's going to be a little bit of a break here, but we're still in a solar maximum, and that could be expected. And as the solar flares and the sunspots head back to Earth facing, that could change. So just be a little bit, passive and calm about it, but enjoy the break while we have it. And that's what I got from Mystic Space Weather News.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and bring Phyllis on and we can
Yeah.
get started here.
I always feel a little lost whenever I'm doing the remote thing, right? Like I feel like we're so easy to be in jive and hanging out, but
I know.
anyway.
I feel like that's a little bit more like structured in a box instead of it being like, oh, we're free. Let's laugh and play it. Ah. Okay.
I
We'll still
know,
do
I know.
that.
But
Phyllis,
we wanted
welcome.
to, yes, yes, and I just want to say a couple words about Phyllis. Phyllis is Phyllis Douglass. She's known as the voice of an angel, embodied conduit working in union with eternal omnipresence through the Elohim, the celestial intelligence who guides and co-creates the unfolding of divine architecture. Also, she is also known as the architect. Her human embodiment serves as a vessel for pure divine transmission. Phyllis, welcome.
No. It's always weird to like listen to somebody talking about you. I'm shy.
Well,
Oh my
I
goodness.
have to say, I am so excited you're here. Oh my gosh, the amount of like energy that I got when I first heard you was just like, I want her on the show. And
Yeah.
I really just want to dive in and just play with this. So for our audience, can you start from the beginning? I know that this started early in your childhood, but can you just take them back and take them on this beautiful journey with your angels, our angels too?
Oh goodness. Okay. Then I'm gonna age myself too. Um,
You don't have to.
so and
We
just no
believe in longevity hacking
teasing.
here.
First of all, do I sound is the sound okay for you
You're
guys?
great.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, I actually remember my birth, which is interesting because I do remember being up in somewhere in like a white room speaking with all of these kind of celestial beings. And then all of a sudden, and they were actually saying, thank you for agreeing to do this type of thing. And then I remember being squeezed down the birth canal. It was interesting. And then that's all I remember of that. But when I was, when I was about 4 years old, I had like these invisible playmates, right? And when I was about 4 years old, I entered like a pre class, a religious like class, whatever you call it, in church. And they had given us their little Bibles. And I didn't realize that my invisible playmates were angels. But that's how they were appearing to me biblically. Because when you talk about the biblical significance of angels, you've got the robes and you've got the wings and all of that, right? But it was really just helping to define their existence for me through symbolism and being able to recognize them as angels. So they've been with me my entire life at certain point because I'm also like a psychic medium and all of those things right mixed in there. And then when I got older, I realized I wasn't really seeing them as often. I could if I wanted to or asked them to show up in some form. But what I realized was I was actually recognizing frequency because everything in existence, including each of us, has a frequency. And so I recognized their frequency, so there wasn't any need to show up in form any longer. So they've been with me in my entire life. They have been teaching me, guiding me. They have been my protectors or guardians. And everything that they've taught me has really been preparatory. So it wasn't all good things, right? Some of it was more negative things. And I was asking, well, why did I need to go through that? And I'm speaking of circumstances like the that you see in like the paranormal movies. And I remember at
Oh,
one point when they first came out, after a time they said we want you to watch the paranormal movies, and I was like, I liked scary movies at the time, but I was kind of like those kind of freaked me out a little bit. But then when I actually watched it, it was a lesson for me because some of those things happened to me when I was growing up. And so when I asked them why I needed to learn that information, they said because in order for you to really properly be able to help others through different circumstances in their lives, to facilitate healing and to recognize and understand exactly what was happening in other people's lives, I had to experience it on some level to kind of bring that knowledge and that vibration into my own life. So that's really was my whole upbringing. And I grew up in a tiny little town at the time, Duluth, Minnesota. So I didn't have, I think that's why they were with me all the time. I mean, I didn't have anybody to speak with. That there weren't any classes I could go to. There wasn't anybody I knew that was into spiritual stuff. And so they provided that for me. And then at some point it was more like, well, I want to meet somebody like me, other than my ancestors coming forward and all of this. Uh, because you want somebody that's in a physical form, that you can talk to, that you can communicate with. And so I started to go to those. At that time there were very few, but to kind of the spiritual classes, come learn to be a medium, come learn about this or that. And so I started to do that. And the interesting thing from that though is I had a religious upbringing which I understood. I didn't like the way it was taught. I didn't like the information that was taught, but I was also guided that the information was truth. And so throughout my life, I was trying to figure out, but that's what they're saying, and it doesn't feel right to me. I know that that's not true. But if I were to read the Bible, which they actually made me do twice, uh, I told him I was going to skip the John begat whom and all that stuff because that was meaningless. But so I had to read through it twice. And each time I got to a certain point, they would tell me, okay, this is what that actually means. So, for example, when I got to like the 7 keys of Solomon, they're like, those are your 7 primary energy centers. And I started to recognize the stories and the mythology about each of those centers and what we go through in order to begin clearing away and opening up and revealing the truth of who we are. And so it was kind of those lessons. And what I've realized recently, like within the last couple of years, my religious upbringing has come full circle. And I'm kind of like, what do I do with that? Because my true nature is Seraph. And I don't mention that. And it's recent. They were like, okay, just come out with that. And I'm like, ooh, that's scary. But now they told me recede, because nobody needs to know that. But the reason that I mention that is that close proximity or that communion with what we call the eternal omnipresence, God, right, source, creator, is really, I mean, when you think about the Bible, there's mythology and all of that. There's stuff that was erased. There was stuff that was changed and altered, yes. But it still holds the bulk of the creation story. It still holds the bulk of information that I have come to know and have always understood as truth. And so the other day, just literally, I think it was like last week or the week before, I've been like, what am I here to do? We all go through that on a daily basis, right?
Yes.
But they've told me, and I've always gotten these little increments, and then finally it was like, you are here to, it's like, you are here to allow people to understand. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the full phrase. Oh, I remember. Okay. You are here to prove biblical truth. And I was kind of like, whoa, okay. That's a bit of an undertaking.
Wow.
And
That seems a little heavy too, right?
yeah,
Did it
and
feel
I'm kind
heavy
of
for
like,
you?
and so biblical truth, I had to like, when I first heard it, I'm like, yeah, that's a bit of an undertaking, and that's like, whoa, that's a bit heavy. When you look out into the world and you're like, how would I go about that? But when they speak of proving, biblical truth, they're talking about the fact that we are not, we identify as human, and so we define ourselves as human, and that is all we have. But that is not biblical truth. The biblical truth is that we are sparks of or individuations of the eternal omnipresence, God, having an experience within form. And our form is human. Our form does not define who we are in truth. The biblical truth is that we are the eternal omnipresence in physical form, here to experience a life. And when we understand that, and all of the different, when we talk about how we came down into form, through our oversoul, through our higher self, and all of that, when we experience life in physical form, then we are sharing that information of truth in recognition of human life, right? And the process of awakening and the process of beginning to clear all of the things that are not in alignment with that truth. We're sending all of that information up to our oversoul and essentially into the all, right?
Let me,
Because it's all about experience. Yeah.
Go ahead.
right. So let me ask this question, and maybe it's just a really big question that we all kind of hold. Why do you think that was needed? Right? Why this experience and everyone here to have that their own, and we all have our very own unique experience. There'll never be another exact duplication of us doing this way, right? That's where we have the signature resonance. But why do you think that needed to send that information back to source? Why is that? Do you think maybe?
It
It could be a big
is,
question now.
that is a big question. Well, and you could ask because I could take that many different ways. Because the other planets, we are a free will planet. So everything is really about learning and teaching. So
Yeah.
and experiencing. So I would say it's not really about what I look at it, it's not really about learning, it's about experiencing. It is all
Sure.
about experiencing. Because
Yes.
if you do not have an experience, if you are not presently experiencing something, you have nothing. Do you understand that
Yes.
statement? Yes. There is no reason to exist.
Oh, okay.
And so when we talk
Hold
about,
on a second. Like, isn't
yeah,
I really have always thought our reason to exist is to grow consciousness and to elevate us to the ascension for us to ascend.
yes, but you
Okay.
cannot do that. You cannot grow, and you can't even contract either. You're talking about without experience. You can't just come here and do nothing. Right?
Right.
It's
Well,
not going to happen. You have to exist. You have to experience. And so none of that would happen if we were not experiencing something to
wow.
help create a reality where that could happen.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we have
my
to,
first brand was actually called New Wealth Experience and the New Experience. And it was it just brought it all back full circle for me.
Yeah.
That's fabulous to hear.
well, and it's interesting because if we are here to experience. We were given free will. We didn't do
And
that.
yes.
We weren't very good at this.
Mhm.
Some of us are, some of us are. And so there's help. Like we have a lot of help right now to get us out of. We're currently in a state of contraction again. When we look out into the world, into our government, we're in not all of us here, but many people are in a state of contraction. The energy of the world is in a state of contraction. And then over here, you have people that are in a state of expansion, expanding to the light. They are understanding that we're the creators of our life, and they want to create something new. They want to create a new world. They want to create a new existence. They want to create a new earth, right? And
Yeah.
so the light is coming in and trying to magnetize the contraction
Mhm.
to help bring that forward. So we're kind of split multidimensionally, and that's okay because there's people that are going to go into contraction, they're going to exist there, and there are people that are going into expansion, and we will exist there. But when I was hearing that, I'm like, well, I have to experience this. So we have to experience many different things in order to begin to know thyself. We can't know who we are in truth without experiencing something that is either going to prove or negate
Yeah.
that. And so we have to go through all of that and begin to recognize when we're stuck in our quote human perspective, the wheels just keep turning and we can't recognize any of that, right? Okay, I've got A and I've got B and I'm sitting here in the middle and I don't understand any of it. I don't know what to do with it. But when you begin to understand the truth of who you are, which is not this human existence, I mean, we in soul and our higher self is within this physical aspect, but the majority of us is not.
Mhm.
The majority of stuff is up there, out there, right? And so when we can recognize that, we start to understand truth from a frequency or vibrational aspect in alignment with our spirit, our what I call the holy template or our soul blueprint, right? When we begin to recognize, we begin to recognize that what we are experiencing is not truth. It's not of the same vibration, it's not of the same frequency. And as we begin to elevate ourselves, our frequency is elevated, our vibration, then all of those things that are not in alignment with that, we're like, whoa, wait a second. I don't get that. Why was I doing that? Why did I ever believe that? Right? Because we're in a new space, we're in a new place. And so that only comes from experience. But when we speak of if there's nothing to experience, if there's nothing to live, why do we exist? Then we're talking about the eternal omnipresence. Because if the eternal omnipresence were through experience, the eternal omnipresence is expanding. We'll just say experience, right? If there's no longer anything to experience, if it knows it all,
Right.
there's no reason to exist any longer.
Interesting. Wow. That's just
Yeah.
like mind blowing a little. I love it.
It's a little freaky. So we're always in expansion. So there's always creation, right?
Uh-huh.
There's new worlds being created as we speak. There's new energies. And it's being created from the original creations. It's like, what about this? Right?
Yeah.
What about that? And so, I mean, we are a seeded planet,
Uh-huh.
and so, here we are. We are now humanoid, right? This is humanity, and so what do we do with that? So we're here to experience an existence of being human. And someone had said the other day, well, what humans generally fear, they fear being disengaged and disassociated with they want to be defined as something because because that's our purpose. That's why we're here, right? And someone said, well, what do the fear of expansion, of awakening and eventually ascending within this form is that who am I? What am I? What am I going to do? There's a fear of the unknown. So a lot of people just stay stuck.
Mhm.
But then I'm kind of like, at one point in my life, I'm like, well, I don't particularly like where I'm at. And I've got this connection. I'm kind of like, isn't it exciting? So, and Elohim was telling me, well, why don't you transfer the energy of what you classify as fear into excitement?
Mm-hmm.
Because your brain doesn't know the difference.
Wow.
And so when I'm like, oh, I must be really excited, right?
Absolutely.
I am so excited to do that. And so when I started to do that, I realized I am excited. Actually, that's actually really pretty cool. Because I understand that, my life has been filled with divine synchronicities and all of this, and there's an unfolding process.
Mhm.
And when I stand with my highest vibrational frequency, everything unfolds with ease. And so, what I've been guided to realize in my life is that if door number 1 is safe, but you're like, and door number 2 scares the heck out of you, but you're excited, it makes your heart sing, you're excited, then you got to go with door number 2. But a lot of people say it's so hard, I'm so afraid, what if I pull back the curtain, what's there? What's going to greet me? And for me, I finally realized, well, who cares? Because I understand that you set forth on this map, and they're like, if you take door number 2 or door B, and you're willing to step through, we're there to catch you. We're there to help you, right? We're there to provide what is needed in order for you to circumvent the pathway through the trajectory through to the other side.
Yeah.
And so our life from birth was a doorway. we're not meant to stay in that same room. Putting a bed, putting a kitchen, all that stuff, and
Right?
exist and bring in all the people and exist in that room, right? We
Yeah.
live we live within many mansions. And that is biblical speak, right? The many mansions, and each room is an experience. Well,
Wow.
I rather live in an expanding, huge mansion on the beach with the waves crashing in and the birds
Yes.
singing,
Yes, I'm with you.
and to keep exploring rooms instead of being stuck in a single room my
Let's
entire
talk
life.
about this a little bit deeper because I've, been in so many personal development classes and they're like, just go to the cliff and step off, you will have wings. And that, and it was like, I was just so like, I just had so much quote fear of these unknown experiences, so much in my life that I was like, well, I can go to the cliff, but let's just see if there's like a parachute just in case was kind of the thing. And usually it was around something like hard work or money or some unknown. Like I didn't know how well it would go. So I had these like, well, what if? And my what ifs would like literally fall off the cliff, right? So when those people are faced with a new opportunity and they do get that excitement inside and they are ready to see that they have wings, what are some of the things that you take people through to break through the energies that are keeping them feeling stuck or feeling like I can't trust it, it's unfamiliar?
I tell them to jump.
Like quite literally.
Quite
Okay.
literally. You're talking to someone who's been off many a cliff. And I used to feel that in the sense, but the more cliffs you jump off of, so in that analogy, the more you come to the realization that you're not going to die. We have that old limbic brain thing. We think every time we turn a corner, we're going to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, which in this reality is not true, but it's still there. And so
Yeah.
the key fear isn't about money, isn't about what people are going to think of us, isn't about what we think we're going to lose. It's because we think we're going to die. We die many deaths within this life. And so, our brain cannot interpret the fear versus anything we perceive in our lives with the fear of death. It's all death,
Would
right?
you say that that's also like timeline leaping? Because, I mean, it almost seems like sometimes I'll come out of a meditation and I'm not even the same person. Is that kind of the same thing?
No.
Okay.
And
So what do you
yes, I mean,
mean by death? Like, do you mean like really true?
physical death. We in our human
Oh,
brain, the
Are you, are,
fear
so
that
are,
comes.
yeah.
let me see if I can paraphrase this. So you're saying that, are you saying that for all the fears that I have, like let's say that I had a fear of public speaking and I finally got on the stage,
Mm.
my brain wants to equate that to death. Like the fear is always the death,
Our
right?
brain and our ego,
Oh,
especially our
wow.
ego, wants to
Interesting.
equate it to death.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily talking, it's death. And what I'm saying is like physical death. It's like, I'm going
Right.
to die, but, but you're really not.
He doesn't
And
say those words, but
yes,
that's the charge, the energetic charge that it
it's the
innately
energetic charge. And so what I
got it.
learned is that when I'm feeling fear, I jump off the cliff and say, I'm not going to die. And if I do, that will be a beautiful thing because I know there is no death.
Yeah.
And so and this is way out there, but a lot of
Yes.
people began to think about if you're not afraid to die, then your ego's like, wait a second, because she's not. I'm telling her she's gonna die, and she's like,
No, I guess I never
so
really went that far down the
so
fear
then we
rabbit
realize,
hole.
but then we realize the fear is like something else. We have to say, okay, I'm not gonna die, obviously. So what
Yeah.
am I afraid of? It's not really death. What am I afraid of?
Mhm.
And then you have to realize, well, I actually don't need to be afraid of anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because if my intuition and that sacred divine inspiration that's coming through is telling me to jump off this cliff, then I have to trust. And it really comes down to trust. And throughout my life, whoa, I have had to trust the angels explicitly. And I'm like, never lie to me. Never, no, they've never lied. They've never anything, because they knew if they did something for my highest benefit, I would interpret it as a lie. So they would have to come in and say, you need to do this because. Because I was one of those people that like, prove it to me. And so they would, until I got over that stage of my life.
I think that's a huge key to this, because people that are stuck in the unknown, they haven't lived a life where they can trust themselves often.
Well, that speaks to my work then, because that speaks to two different things. So I'm known as the architect. So I'm working with multiversal sound and form. So when we speak, sound is vibration, frequency, and harmonic resonance. And form is sacred geometry, energetic structures, and living blueprints. So when we look at our soul blueprint, we cannot be harmed. We're whole, healthy, complete, and we're like, whoa, life, right? But when we actually live our life, then all kinds of experiences occur, good, bad, and ugly. And all those experiences, we are vibrationally in alignment with for whatever reason. And so we can look back at things flowing through our DNA, our ancestors. We can look at our familial response, our mother, our father, our grandparents, our great grandparents, all down the line, right? We can look at circumstances in our life, and it all comes down to emotions a lot. But those are all experiences. But humans haven't learned, especially when we're younger, to actually step away from an experience and acknowledge that it's an experience and state, okay, this is how I feel. What did I learn from this experience? What is it that I do not wish to repeat? What is it that I desire to experience now? How can I change this? And then we move on to the next experience. So from a biblical standpoint, from that, our higher spiritual aspect, our higher spiritual construct, it's like, that was just an experience. So what do we want to do next? Our human aspect is like, oh my God, that sucks.
Yep.
I hate that person. I can't live beyond that. And we hold on to it for our entire lives. Whereas, I had some horrible experiences. And the only thing is, I'm like holding those emotions are locked in my body. They're keeping me from living my life. They're keeping me from moving on to the next experience. They're keeping me from growing and expanding. They're keeping me from evolving and becoming and acknowledging the truth of who I am as a divine being within a physical form. All of that is locking us down because my ego, my mind does not want to let it go. Here is that person that did something to me is la-di-da-di-da. They're either dead or they're just living their lives and they are not even considering me. They're not even thinking of me. They have accomplished what it is that they came to accomplish. And, so we have, and it's like when Elohim was telling me that, I'm like, oh, okay. Right. And so then I realized, I am, excuse my language, screw you, screw them. I'm just gonna move on because that's not me. That doesn't define me. It doesn't prove anything because I know this, right? This is who I am. And so then I can move on to, we start to evolve through our experiences. So the first experience is, we're born, right? Then we have experience after experience after experience after experience. Our final experience is our transition from our physical form into our light body, our soul essence. And then we move on and say, "Ooh, that was a wild ride, enjoyed it, whatever," and we move on wherever we're going. And so I finally learned that, okay, yes, I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm a mother, right? I have a daughter, I have a husband. But that doesn't define me
Yeah.
as it defines many people, right? What I
Yeah.
realize is that I am living an experience that I desire to be a spiritual teacher, to be a mother, to be a wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be a
Mm-hmm.
sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be a yoga teacher, to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to be a thief, whatever it is.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
like you're experiencing that because you want to experience it on a higher level for whatever reason, right? But when I realized that that's not who I am, it doesn't define me. It's what I'm experiencing, it's what I desire to experience in this lifetime. Then you gain freedom, you gain flexibility, and you begin to gain your sovereignty because you're not locked in to something. Our government desires to lock us into something. Our teachings through school, our parents, what they've taught, desire to lock us into something, a belief
Mm-hmm.
system that
Mm-hmm.
isn't ours necessarily. I mean,
Yeah.
there obviously are certain things that are true within our reality that we all agree upon, but we can buck the system. We don't we don't have to be that. We don't have to do that. We do not have to believe that. We do not have to conform to that. We do not have to take that on. We don't have to own it, right? Unless
Yeah.
we want to. Unless that's what we want to experience, or we decide that we want to experience that thing because it's just a good way to be a good human and to be able to positively communicate and live with other beings and to honor them and to respect them and to live in equality.
Yeah.
So we adopt these certain ways of being
Sure.
in it in order to
So many
exist.
calls on these identity and so you're
Yeah.
speaking our language here. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I One of the things that I would like to do is if we really like to be able to showcase your work and see how people can experience your, the uniqueness that you be, would it be advantageous for us to take a couple questions from the audience, or perhaps you could walk us through a group experience?
I will take you through a group experience, but
Awesome.
what my Seraph essence Elohim wants to say, and Jeanette, you asked me a question and I didn't fully answer it.
Okay.
So I answered it, but I'm not done. Okay. When I'm talking about being the architect, so when a client comes in, is primarily women. Uh, I look at you through the perspective of sacred design. We all have a vibrational frequency that is who we are. We all have a soul blueprint, and that has a specific frequency. That's our soul frequency. Our human body has a specific frequency, human, right? And we are a merging of the two. So when I look at someone, I see what I call the construct of your creation. I see your vibrational frequency soaring through an actual architectural structure
Mm.
matrix, a matrix, right? So we have grids all around us, and there's stuff, energy flowing through the grids. There's sacred geometric thing. There's harmonics. There's all of this. So I see that. I sense that, and when I'm in a session, I'm guided to see. I see a holographic structure, and I can tune into where there's discordance. Right, the frequency's not in the proper alignment. It is not properly attuned vibrationally with the truth of who you are. That simplifies everything.
So
And
would that
so
usually come through with any disruption? It could be
any disruption.
any
So
dis-ease, I guess.
yes. And so people around the distortions and the disturbances in your life and all of that and emotions, the feelings, right? All of that. it all has a vibration. It all has a frequency. And from a human perspective, we get locked into the story of that. Everything we experience has a story, right?
Yes.
And
We're
so
seeing
when you
that
come
more and
in,
more.
so when you come into my session, a lot of people are like blah 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 this and that and whatever, and I've been to this person and that person, blah blah blah, and and they're telling me I'm just saying blah blah blah. I'm not going to short term,
Yeah. Right.
but it goes on, right? So
Yeah.
everybody has a story, right? And the thing is, I listen because I'm witnessing,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, from my perspective of the work I do, I'm not interested in the story because it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
You have identified with a story that's wrapped around and it was whatever's that I see in your body.
Yeah.
And so from my perspective, if I can align the frequency and bring in the proper harmonics through the work that I do, that frequency is brought back into alignment with your soul blueprint, with your holy template, with your human template. Okay. For being Seraph, I know I have an owing of what the human template looks like from a God perspective.
Yeah.
And I also know what the soul blueprint looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not seeing that whole thing. What I work through Elohim with the eternal omnipresence. And so I am guided within that. It's like I see this, and then it's like pinpoint funnel vision that goes to a certain section or segment of it.
Mm-hmm.
There I do my work, which brings it into harmonic alignment, right? It brings those frequencies through that grid or the matrix, and then all of a sudden I see perfection, alignment, the way it was originally supposed to be. So I'm not focused on the story. I'm just focused on what the story did to your frequency and your vibrational
Now let me
resonance.
ask you this question. So
Yeah.
you can bring it back into alignment with frequency in that moment and in that session. But what happens when their head and their intention goes back to all the reference points of the story? Do they just then recreate the story, or parts of the story? Like what? I mean, it's not your responsibility, but I'm kind of curious, like how long can this stick? Go ahead, you're smiling.
Sorry. Archangel Michael is down here, and he's like, all hell breaks loose.
No, right? That and that's kind of why I asked the question, because I was like,
no,
"See,
I get it. I get exactly why
is
you're
exactly what happens." So I work on bodies, and I will work on them, and they will be like jumping up and loose and everything, and it's like I'm free. And then they'll come back, and I'll hear their story again, and then they'll be like, "Can I do it again?" And it's like, okay,
Yeah, it's a
let's talk
question
about
I
this.
ask, and this is one of the things, because I bring in your higher self. I'm speaking to the oversoul. So the question that I ask, and people have to fill out, is, do you want? Basically, it's alignment. Do you want to be here?
So they're
Do you want to
basically trying
heal or
to die out
transform
of
your
this
life?
Yeah.
Right. Do you desire? Why? Why are you here? I always ask that when someone comes in, and I do everything online, but I say, okay, I'm so happy to meet you. Why are you here? And they'll tell me, because I bring them into alignment with their why, first of all.
Wow. Great.
And so when you acknowledge that, it's connecting you to higher self, oversoul that knows why you're here. You just your vibration starts to elevate. And so there's a lot of things that comes into play when you're speaking of desire. Do you really want to let go of it? Well, just stating, people are like, well, obviously,
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said that. But people usually go, yeah, of course. Something drew me to you. Something drew me to pay for this session. I'm here. And then they realize, they sink into that like, wow, yeah, I'm ready. So they acknowledge that they're ready. So frequency wise, this is what happens. So when I alter someone's frequency, they're altered. It doesn't go back, right? And so to speak. And what happens when, as Archangel Michael so gracefully said, all hell breaks loose. What he's speaking of is that you are no longer a match for the environment and the life you've been living. Some things you might be, but you're no longer a match because your frequency has been elevated, in a sense. It's been put into alignment. So then people go back into life and they look at their boyfriend or their spouse or their partner or their
Mhm.
husband, and they're like, ew. Okay, that's my funny thing.
Yeah,
Or
no,
they
this
go
is
to
real.
work, or they go to work and they're like, God, I hate my job. Why
Mhm.
am I here? It's just really about recognition, and that's where the challenge comes in, right? For them, it's if you recognize these things, what are you going to do about it? Most people will come back and say, I had this client, and I was like, I haven't heard from her. I even sent out a notification. You wonder sometimes what happened.
Yeah.
God, it was like 8 months, I think, because it was just like a few weeks ago. She came back another session. It was long enough for me, like, I think I recognize you, that type of thing.
Right.
She comes back, you changed my life. Oh my God, it was extraordinary. The moment I got out, everything started to change. My life turned around. I left my husband. I got a divorce. I have this. I left my job. I mean, it was like she's going on about this. She was glowing, and I'm thinking, thank you.
Mhm.
Because I don't often see the I don't often see what's happened to people afterwards.
Yeah.
Unless some people come back for another session or something and say, "Oh, that was a wonderful shift. I'm ready for the next one." Right?
Mhm.
So that was wonderful because you have to be willing. If you're here and you do a session, then I understand that you're willing to transform. You're willing to make a change. So I tell you, when you step out of the session, you're going to begin to see, it's not going to be like bam right in your face necessarily, but it's over time
Yeah.
that things start to change, and you start to realize that aspects of your life are not in alignment with who it is that you are. And you start to think, why on earth did I ever do that? Why did I ever engage with that? And then you begin to open up and seek new, beautiful things that are in alignment, because you are a vibrational magnet. So the future does not exist. The future is unlimited potentiality. So I always tell people, stop broadcasting into the future. It doesn't exist. The only thing and the past doesn't either. The only thing that exists right now is this present moment now as you sit before me.
Right.
And so who are you going to be in this moment? What is it? What are you going to do to begin to magnetize the future you desire into this moment? And it can be this big of a change, and it can be this big of a change, right? You can take it bite-sized pieces. It doesn't matter, because anything that you do, if you just drive to work on a different road, a different direction, you've changed your frequency. Your brain, our brain maps our lives. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, what is this? Right? And so when you start to do different things, when you start to bring in different energies, when you start to explore and actually engage with the outcome of your exploration, you begin to change your life through vibrational frequency. You begin to magnetize something different in the present moment, right away, in that second. So think about the power that you have by just having a different thought.
Yep. Yeah, spending time learning, reading a new book, doing something different than everything that you always do.
Yeah, maybe not hating your mother, just realizing, she's living the life she was meant to live. She's experiencing what she was meant to experience. She did the best she could.
Yeah.
I love her. I love her for being human. Why would I hate her? Because here I am experiencing my own life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you, Mother, for bringing me in to this lifetime. I love you dearly for that. They may be the worst person in the world, but it doesn't mean you can't love them for what it is that they brought to you in a positive way. Right?
Yeah.
That's just an instance, but that changes your vibration right away. It's like, whoa, whew, I can move on.
Right.
My mother's here.
Shouldn't have anything to do with me, though.
No, she was not a terrible person. She was a great mother. But yeah. She just said, I love who you've become. And that's beautiful. Thank you. So, but you can see how powerful you are in this second to make a change your frequency. Right? And that's really the truth that I bring to people. And they're like, wow. I mean, that's powerful because if you're thinking about, I'm not human, I am God. I'm an individuation of God within physical form.
Mhm.
I can create anything I want. So why the heck am I not doing that? Right? Why am I trying to conform to something that's already been created?
Or just
One of the
take itty bitty steps instead of really taking that full leap.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One of the last thing, biblically speaking, that was brought into my life, every training program I ever went to, spiritual, energetic, had a component of protection. So I was always into protecting myself when, going into a session and all of this. And long story short, a lot happened. But in a meditation, Jesus came to me and said, I'm here to teach you to be radiant. And what does that mean? Right. They go, you are a radiant being, but you're encapsulating it because you feel like you have the need to be protected from the external world, everything within the external world. But what's happening is you are diminishing the truth of who you are. If you are radiant, the external world bounces off, basically, because you are expressing a higher vibration than what it is that you feared. Right?
Mhm.
So he taught me to be radiant, and he said, here. And I've told this story before, and I'm like, all right. And I'm like, and so I said to Jesus, I think my radiance is constipated. And he laughed. Because I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, right? And he said, no, no, no. Okay, breathe. He goes, no, do this. He said, go. And I almost got bowled over. And I was like, okay. So I took a couple of breaths and then I went, and I went, whoa. Because my radiance expanded.
Yeah.
And so one of the key things is to be radiant. You don't need, if you stand in your radiance, you stand in the truth of who it is that you are. You stand in your divinity. And there's no need for protection. You can create and make up all kinds of stuff, but there's no need to protect yourself from it. And so I got well, there were two lessons. One, Elohim said, okay, when Jesus walked into the leper colony, did he don a hazmat suit and goggles and gloves and a rebreather mask and booties?
Right.
And I was like, no. Case in point.
Yeah.
Right. But it was like a brujeria class. And from a religious perspective, I'm like, magic, right? But Elohim said, go. So went through the course. We had to graduate. So to graduate, we had to go outside. And he said, I'm going to draw a white circle. You're going to stand in the white circle. And I'm going to invite in negative beings, right? And when they come at you, you're going to make this statement and this action and dispel them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm flipping out, right? So I was the first one in my little circle, and I'm like, okay, God, I don't know what to do. And all I heard was, Phyllis, be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I stood up to the light language and I went,
Yep.
and then I stood there. And so all of a sudden, everyone's like doing the word and the action and all of this. And my teacher's walking with his assistant. They stopped and they were staring at me. And he shook his head. And so here's me. What did I do wrong? Right? That was the thing. So we get in afterwards, and he said, does anyone have anything to share? And I was like, and he said, Phyllis. And I told him, I said, I don't know what I did wrong. I mean, nothing. I literally said, I don't know what I did wrong. I didn't feel any negative entities. I didn't get an opportunity to do what the assignment. He's looking at me like, Phyllis, you above all people did everything right.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you remember when I was standing over there? He said, you had cast your sphere so far that I was on the boundary of it. And unfortunately, everyone that was within your sphere did not get the experience they signed up for either.
I love that.
Because I had protected them within my sphere.
Wow.
That was like the most magnificent telling experience that just freed me from ever again acknowledging that the ego. brain.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
have a bunch of mystical experiences before I really trusted that inner knowing and knew, you know what, I can do this. I can
Hmm.
do this remote. I can do these things. But I had to have the evidence almost to know that I could trust that inner knower. Do you feel that in that experience, you had to have that evidence to trust that inner knower for you? You thought
Oh yeah,
it
I've
was
got the
maybe,
hardest head.
yeah.
Elohim will talk. You're so hard headed
Right. I do
because
I
too.
am.
yeah, I've had to endure so many things in my life, and I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Even to the point where I feel what you're saying, but prove it to
Mhm.
me. Because if you
Yeah.
can prove it to me, I will take that step. And so now I don't have to, they're not into proving anything because I believe. But, when I was younger and coming up and all these things were happening, I didn't, though I trusted them, I didn't necessarily trust the experiences that they were bringing to me. Yeah.
I'm from
So,
Missouri, so it's a show me state. And I pretty much grew up being that girl that it was like, well, show me. I won't believe it until you show me. And
mhm.
now I'm like just the opposite because I'm like, nope, hook, line, sinker.
This is
Yeah, I
how
got
it is.
kicked out of Sunday school for that too. I was sure that story.
Yeah. I
I was asking all these questions because they're telling me all this stuff about God, and I'm like, maybe I don't know exactly what it is, but I know what you're saying isn't true. So I would ask all these questions, and finally they went to my parents and they said that I was no longer, um, I was no longer, go to big people church. That
yeah.
she just asked too many questions and she's being
Oh,
disruptive to the teachings. And
Yeah.
my mother's like, disruptive to the teachings.
Right?
So then I went to big people church. I had a problem with that too, but I didn't have anyone to ask the questions. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it was good. Oh, good.
Oh
Okay,
my goodness. My goodness. Wow.
so I'm gonna.
I'm so glad you're coming back during our summit on the week of
I
August
know.
25th because we have miles to go with you. And I really want to dive into it's funny. I actually yesterday had a pre-call with somebody that has studied in university about sacred geometry and sounds and things. And in the call, you kind of got a glimpse and then for whatever reason, and in something else, maybe in Gaia, I saw the Vitruvian Man. And I saw it in a very different way. And I just, I can only, have these tiny little glimpses of sacred geometry. So at some point, and I would like to kind of plan a little bit deeper conversation around this when we talk in a couple weeks. So I'm just
Yeah.
planning that out there.
Sure. Okay.
Right, I'll be quiet now.
Are you
Because I
ready
know we're running
for?
we're gonna run a little long
Yes,
today.
we're ready for
You
it.
guys are ready. Okay. Excuse me. Can you hear that?
I I don't
Yes,
think I can.
I can.
You can. Okay.
Yes, now I can.
That's just the underlying energy. There we go. So I would then relax back and close your eyes. And begin by taking a few deep breaths in and out. Feeling how the inward breath affects your body. Feeling the motion, the movement expression as the belly and the lungs expand, lifting the chest. Feel the contraction as the air flows upwards and out of the body. Allow the weight of the day and the weight of your thoughts to melt away. With each inhale, draw in the light of your own divine essence through your intention. With each exhale, release all that no longer serves every thought, every tension, every story that you are ready to set free. Feel the earth beneath you, steady and stable. Feel the vast cosmos above you, infinite and welcoming. You are the bridge between worlds, pure potential in human form. In the sacred moment, open your heart, open your mind, and your cells to receive. Allow the frequencies to move through you, awaken you, and attune you to the truth of who you are, infinite, sovereign, and whole. And so it is. We will begin. We are complete.
Well, I'd love to hear some of the responses on the chat.
Wow.
Oh, we have had a lot of activations. Very few I physically feel in that way. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
I'm all quiet.
I felt, this heat running up and down my spine, my neck adjusted, my whole, frequency was starting to move. I was trying to hide it for a minute. I was just like, you know what? I I don't know that I even should or can. I literally am almost in tears, and oh my gosh.
My job is done.
Thank you. That's all I can say. I don't feel like any words will suffice
Beautiful.
here, but
Right.
to
So
say
that
thank you. I'm
is
in such
um
gratitude.
wow. Wow.
I would, as such a we would close that by acknowledging that all souls come into this lifetime to experience something specific. We also have our soul groups, our soul families that come in with us to ensure that throughout our lives we do get an opportunity to experience what we came to experience. So your mother, brother, uncle, spouse, teacher, someone who serves on, they're here often to help you experience within this classroom, so to speak, to learn what it is you desired to learn. But we all come in with specific gifts. And a lot of people don't acknowledge, often they don't acknowledge their gifts. They just know that they might be good with people. They know that maybe people gravitate towards them and tell them their story. They may know that they're good at, energetically doing things. One of the reasons that we come in with very specific gifts is because there's an alchemical correspondence with who we are in this incarnation to our gifts. That alchemical correspondence allows those gifts to heal us.
Mm.
So our own gifts are part of who we are because it's within our alchemical makeup. So if we find those gifts, we're drawn to something, those gifts first and foremost are to heal and reveal right, truth for us. And once we have that revelation, and once we begin to clear those things away and we become more aware, then we can begin to use those gifts and our experience with those gifts to help facilitate healing for other individuals in the world. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does to me.
So when you go, let's say you go to take a Reiki class, or I'm just pick on Reiki, I'm not picking on it, but that's meant to be a key to the next doorway.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be a key to step in and unlock the room, right? So when we're drawn to, say, Reiki or anything else, there is something within us that says, whatever I learn in Reiki, whatever I learn in that experience is in alignment with the truth of who I am and why I came into this incarnation. So Reiki might be, for me, what it was when I stepped in. Taking a Reiki class was really about opening up the nadis in my hands and in the expression of energy.
Yeah.
And then soon afterwards, it was gone. I'm like, I don't know, it's like on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of those are keys to open you up and to open up the expression and development of your specific gifts.
It's kind of funny with you saying that because I'm thinking throughout my seeking journey here, I kind of have these moments where I'm obsessed with a person, a speaker, a message even. And, and I will sometimes it's a person that has a teaching that I just must know. And then when it gets so that I know it pretty well, then it just kind of, I have no interest in them almost.
Exactly. I've been that's it, even like, well, courses and books, or I might be drawn to watch a YouTube video, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden something like, oh, I mean, it's like, oh, like that answered a question that no one else could answer, that
Uh-huh.
I'd had in my mind. I have purchased so many books, or been guided to purchase books. Never read a book through, but it's like turn to page 87, you know.
Yep.
Oh, and that's
Yes.
all I needed. So it's very interesting because we're multidimensional. Everything is here now, and the information that you need is here now, and it's within you. It just needs to be expressed outward, right? It just
Yeah.
needs to be revealed from within you. So the last thing they want to say is, it's funny, but biblically speaking, the second coming of Christ. All right. A lot of people, from a religious perspective, are awaiting the second coming of Christ. That's not going to happen in the way that you believe it to happen. You are being Christed. The second of coming of Christ is coming from within each and every individual in existence. That is your expansion, and that is your ability to go through the state of ascendancy within form. So it's not like someone coming in, bippity boppity boop, and you are ascended. We each ascend through this physical body, through our acknowledgement and recognition that we are divine. And so the second coming of that Christ is called what they call the Christing, the receipt of the halo as you ascend, which is actually more descension, if you want to anchoring it. But we ascend, we are internally and vibrationally, frequency wise, Christed. And that creates within this vehicle the ability for that light to come in.
Yeah.
And we basically, we reach our point of ascendancy within form.
Yeah. I once had a master healer say, there are zero answers. There are only possibilities always. You have to always keep following the energy, moving forward, following the next desire in your heart, basically. And that is how it is supposed to be here. What are your thoughts on that?
That brings us back to the beginning when I was talking about we're here to experience and not
Okay.
be defined by our experience.
Got
So,
it.
in truth, everything we believe to be true, everything that we've experienced, we're not to be defined by it. And at the same thing, everything is evolving. So you want everything to evolve. So a truth, something you believed when you were 7 years old, more than likely is no longer true, right? Or really
Right.
shouldn't be.
Right.
And if it is, you've defined yourself by it. So it kind of takes you back to that. If you believe something's true in the moment, it's serving you to expand and take that next step. But tomorrow, it may not be true, right? And you have to acknowledge that that truth in that moment was in alignment with who I am and what it is that I needed. So I accepted that as truth because it served as a key for that next doorway to step through. It may be you step into that next doorway, there's a new elevated truth, and you look back and you're like, oh, and you just shut the door and you move on, right? So there's truth in our own divinity, and then there's no truth.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
Because we are always creating. We are always, you have created the reality that you exist in. You may have co-created the reality with the collective. But it also means that you can create and do whatever it is that you desire.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, who here would like to work with Phyllis or at least know how you can work with Phyllis? I'm going to go ahead and bring up her offer now.
While she's doing that, I wanted to find out how you move from one, let's say you're doing Reiki and you feel like, okay, I'm no longer just being here with the Reiki. Do you ask questions around what's next? How do you kind of explore how you find and go into what is available for you? And how do we, try to just give a little bit of example of how we do that?
Yeah. So when I went into Reiki, I went into the Reiki level 1. I learned it. I had fire in my hands at that point. And we got the technique, we went away. Reiki 2 was supposed to be the following week. So I went away and I'm like, woo, activated my Reiki, and then all of a sudden I was like, woo, I'm doing all this stuff. Because what it did was it opened up a door within me that has nothing to do with Reiki, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
when I went back to Reiki 2, she said, well, what did everyone experience? And I said, oh my God, I started doing Reiki on a friend, and then all this stuff started to happen. Oh my, it was magnificent. I'm explaining. And she just looked at me deadpan, and she said, you're not supposed to be doing that. And that happened
You're
all
like,
through my Reiki
vanilla.
experience. But all of a sudden, it was like, at that time, I didn't know to be radiant. I just went, I closed up. I'm like, what? And all of a sudden, I like feared the opening. So, what the recognition that you have is when you are doing something someone else taught you in the way that they taught you to do it. As you're working with a client or as you're working with yourself, something else will come in. So if you're supposed to be holding their head, right? But then something starts to come through and you're like, ooh, right? And
Yeah.
you go, oh no, I'm supposed to be holding the head.
Yeah.
No, you're not. What
I love
what
that you're
comes
saying
through is like this, you in alchemical alignment with you, right?
Yes.
You need to do this because you can, right? And now feel that, feel the power in that, feel what's happening, right? So I had to learn to do that, and I've had teachers say, "You're not supposed to do that. You're not doing my technique. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to do their technique." Which is why
so
a lot of
glad
people
you're
don't.
saying this.
A lot of people don't engage with those techniques any longer because it was more about money and more about ego. That they actually, some schools have thought they got rid of people because they were expanding upon the technique that they'd learned from this individual. And a lot of those people aren't around any longer because they haven't expanded. But everything, as Elohim shares, must evolve. So if you are a shamanic teacher, as I was through different technologies and so forth, I was doing that stuff. Oh gosh, everything came in. I was doing stuff totally differently, but you're supposed to. Doesn't mean you're no longer a shamanic practitioner. It means that you are wholly tied in with your personal gifts that you came into this lifetime with and were empowered with to share with other people. You only learn the techniques to get it out of you, right? To find that path. If you stick with something in the way that you learned it and you deny the expansion of it, you are stuck in a box and you will not evolve.
Phyllis, I cannot wait to take this to this conversation expandedness. God, love it so much. And I feel like you're really opening up that some of those paradigms that we have fallen trapped to, because it didn't feel like for me for that as well. So I'm so glad that you're coming and sharing that from the Elohim, because it resonates. It's yes. So much yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Freedom.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you get it up, Jeanette?
It's here. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's a beautiful image. Can I steal that? Yeah. So the Radiant Holographic Healing is very simple. There's no context. I will ask you, like, why are you here? But then I just go in, I look into the holographic field, and through Elohim, I just shift whatever in that moment is most beneficial. I don't do it all. They'll show me things, but they'll pinpoint me on this vibration is distorted. So I'll shift that frequency, because what happens when you shift a frequency within you, it starts to buck up against another frequency within you that's like, hey, what's going on? And you start to, your entire frequency aspect, like, think of yourself as an orchestra. Instruments start to come into tune just because the violin is in a tune. And the drummers are, like the celloist is over here like, oh wait, I'm not in tune, what's happening? And you start to entrain a different attunement, basically, a different tune, or tuning, I should say. So that's basically what it is that I do in that session. So you might come in and say, I have this certain thing. I had a woman that came in that was having a challenge, like, with her eye. So sometimes well, not sometimes, all the time, I'm working somewhere else and then I'll go to the eye. Or I might work partially on the eye and I'm doing something else because we're a gridding system. If you have a challenge with your eye, it's not just the eye. The frequency of the eye is diminished or what have you. It's not in alignment, but that also starts to affect other aspects of who it is that you are, right? And so we're kind of working through that. We work in a unified way. Not like you'd go to physical therapy, my shoulder hurts, and they just work on your shoulder and they say goodbye. That doesn't necessarily help everything, right? Because your shoulder is attached to the rest of your body. So we work in that unified way, understanding that the challenges that you have will be it's generally in a spot, but it also, it radiates outwards to other aspects of who you are. So that's what we do in that experience. So I do the transmission, and then you'll receive a replay of that transmission, which you can listen to 3 additional times to complete your healing cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
The testimonials on here are just out of this world. Words are no match for capturing my experience. The other one up here is, I am unable to describe what I just experienced in words.
That's what I said.
I mean, yeah, right?
I was like, the words aren't going to do it justice. So
No.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think that these sessions should be priced at like $1,000, to be honest, for what it could provide for somebody else. And I've never said that before on a call. So let's
yeah. I get that. I've taken like business mind, the masterminds and things like that. And they're like, you could be making all this money. You could be doing this. You could have Yeah, I'm not here to do that.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
here
here to help.
have monetary reciprocity so I can live and do things, right?
Sure.
But I'm not here to get rich in that sense. And I guess if I had more clients, I could do it, but if there whatever, from the shows and more clients come in. But actually they dismissed me from, it was called I was in this thing and they actually dismissed me because I was really bucking the system, because I said, no, that's not in alignment. I can't do that. They're like, you'll never make money. You'll never. And I was like, I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
and and it was just kind of like, and then they were mad at me and they said, we can't help you if you're unwilling, because they were telling me to totally disregard and stop doing everything I was doing and to begin to monetize what I already have.
Well, a lot of people in this world have a lot of conclusions about how other people should live their life.
They really do.
I mean, it's just like, okay, no, this is my life. This is my choice. Get your little conclusionary mind out of my world.
A lot of that becomes encapsulated in a monetary system that's been set up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say something totally contradictory. You aren't helping people long term. You really aren't helping people by doing that. And you're not helping people by making it so hard for people to be able to benefit from what it is that you're sharing. Because you're not here to make money. You are here to share gifts that will change someone and allow them to grow and evolve and expand. Because we don't change a world. I can't change a world by myself. It's a co-creation.
Without anybody even being able to work with you at all.
It doesn't help me to change my world. Right? My world has been changed, but you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like, you change
we need
your world so
a
that
lot more change.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So I got dismissed, and here I am, and I'm happy.
Right.
The point we're making is that the value is so beautifully there, and thank you so much for even offering to do the session for us. It's special that she did for our audience today as well. So if you feel guided to have an amazing session, please do choose it while we can.
How long do these sessions usually go?
About 45 minutes.
Okay, fabulous.
Wow.
Yeah, I usually do a little bit of an intake, asking why are you here?
Sure.
What's going on in your life, and then we go on. So generally, it's around the transmission is around 20 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit less, because you have to listen to it 3 more times, and then you're going to sit there for an hour. But yeah,
Right.
but that's all you need because it's prescriptive, and they just
Yep.
tie it up in a nice little knot, and like here you go. Yeah.
Love it.
So
If you're looking for the link and you're listening to us only, go to hautehustle.com/Phyllis, and that's spelled with two L's. And Haute is Haute. So again, it's www.hautehustle.com/Phyllis to get this unique session.
Tiffany says, I can't even imagine how fuzzy I'd be with 20 minutes of what I just experienced! Exclamation marks times
Right.
4.
That's funny.
Like dynamite, very powerful in a small package. So much gratitude for today. I agree. I completely agree.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean,
Yay.
I receive as well. It's just such great beauty and resonance when I get to meet before a community or people and to share what it is that I share, because I wouldn't be me if I wasn't able to do that either, and I wouldn't be receiving in life what I came to receive if I wasn't able to do this type of thing either. So I always receive, and I always am in a state of learning, right,
Love
and
it.
evolving as well.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you so much. It was really an
Thank
honor
you.
for you to be
This was
here.
a great deal of fun.
Yeah.
Well, we
Well,
will
we
see
look
you
forward
again
to it next
soon. I'm so
time.
excited. I will have other notes, especially in the land of architecture and sacred geometry, because I would like to dive a little bit more in. I know it's life-changing with just the frequency, but I'd like to receive a
Well,
little
sacred
more on that.
geometry is frequency.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, then we can
Yeah.
talk about that. I could
That's
Yeah.
start
right.
the conversation just that way.
To be continued. Well,
Thank
we'll let
you.
you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Just hang around, just a couple questions here, a couple announcements and questions for you. One of the things I want to remind you on, if you are listening on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will get notifications about our next show. We meet live every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And we have a summit coming up. So I hope you
It's
mark your
August.
calendar. It's August
Yay! It's
25th through
August 25th
29th.
through the 29th. Yes, we'll have 3 speakers a day beginning at 11 a.m. Central. So that's 9 a.m. Pacific. So be sure to come or join us on the replay. Every single day we'll have the replays out for all of the different speakers. And you'll also find Phyllis with our to be continued as well as one of the speakers. And we're really excited about all the different speakers that we have. Jennifer, tell them about our live event.
Yep, we've got a live event coming up November 7th, 8th, and 9th. And we believe we've got a really cool guest coming that's going to do some sound baths and some frequency work. She will be on the show in September. So we will give you more information about that coming up. But in this event, it's really about embodying these frequencies, really taking them into your body, working through how you can live your life in these ways by being these, upgraded frequencies, so to speak. So it will be a hands-on kind of thing. It's a small, intimate group. You can learn more at hautehustle.com/early bird. But the early bird is soon ending. It's going to fly away and tweet off to our regular price points. So look for that at hautehustle.com/early bird.
It'll be here in Austin, Texas, just in case you didn't catch that. And if you have any questions or you are on the fence, just email us at team@hautehustle.com and we'll get you all your answers squared away as well. So definitely want to take advantage of that early bird while it's still available. It's going away on the 18th, correct?
15th.
15th. So you better jump on it, and definitely just email us, team@hautehustle.com. Also, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, be sure to subscribe, because that's where we give away all the speaker gifts and we tell you about all the different things that we're doing. Plus, you get to find out who we have on the show next. So that's www.hautehustle.com. And you'll also get your free invite for the summit. So don't forget to mark your calendars for the summit and join us live or on the replay this
And that
August.
invitation is coming out on Sundays. So look for the summit invitation so you can opt in for the summit.
Yay!
Yay.
We always want to remind you that we give back. We do a nonprofit donation. We support riseup.org. It's an organization that gives laptops and devices. So they just take the ones that are refurbished and hand those to maybe students and people that are in need. So if you have any persons that might have a need, definitely email us and let us know. Or if you have some donations that you'd like to make, plus just know that your purchases always go to support that as well. Guys, we just really enjoy having you here. We love being a part of this community, and no judgment, and really just expanding and working with each other. And thank you for always coming back and showing up.
So take a little time to enjoy the
Woo!
woo. And we will see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye, everyone.
Yes.